Well guys, we are getting closer and closer to the release of Nintendo's next big title, being Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, at the end of next month, which means previews are officially here. Yes, there's a lot of outlets that have played the game, and I am here to bring at least a couple of them together and talk about their positives, their negatives, and kind of what I think as someone who's only played 3 houses. Now normally I come up with about 4 to 5 different previews or reviews to talk about in one, but I've only found 2 that I truly thought were really well done, and that is IGN and Skill Up. So if you want to check out their official previews that they posted, I will link them in the description down below, but I'll be talking about the general gist of what they liked and disliked and kind of what this game has to offer so far with the minimal amount of playtime that everyone has been able to play, which is only up to chapter 5 with all of the characters. If you want to see more videos like this and stay up to date on any previews or reviews that drop, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on anything Nintendo. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's dive into the previews of Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. So first off, we start with IGN, and here are the main points that they were able to make. You start the game with your main hero, Eshmal, I believe his name is, and then you go back in time to play as the other 4 heroes, which is a little bit different. So you're starting kind of at the end of the game and then going back in time. So your job is to pretty much help all those heroes in the past to better help you in the future. Think of something like Breath of the Wild, and I'll get into that a little bit more later with another review. But IGN goes on to state each character has blaze arts. These are special abilities for each character, or at least each hero, and you have to use them sparingly. It's a risk versus reward thing where you can lose a lot of health by using it, and you can also fill a meter which helps you to level up better. So it just depends on the situation and how you want to use it. Each character can level up their blaze arts in a unique way. Kai helps out people in need around the map. Lita performs at towns across the map because she is a dancer, so like each character has their own way of not only using their arts but also leveling them up. You can make plans to go around the land doing side quests, but need to make sure you get back to town in time for Coliseum events. You have a specific number of days where you can go out on the land and explore and, take on side quest battles and do little missions and stuff, visit other towns. The map is pretty big from what I've seen. It looks actually massive, but yeah, you can pretty much plan out your time and probably your weeks or months or however long you have in game before you have to head back to the Coliseum and get your matches done. There is less training and less school stuff like in 3 houses, so if you weren't a big fan of that, this is definitely fixing it, because now it's more about exploring the world to level up and taking on side quests and battles through this giant world map instead of student learning and training. There's tons of recruitable people in the streets. They have similar requirements as 3 houses did, like gifts that you have to give them or special dialogue or inviting them over for dinner. It's stuff like this that you can level up characters. If you played 3 houses, it's all very familiar. Fortune's Weave has more unique intros than 3 houses, so you're not going to be doing the same boring thing to start each of the 4 stories over and over again. Each of them are very distinct, and they all feel extremely different from one another. You can approach the finale with just one person also. You don't have to do all the stories. If you just want to stick with one character and one story and one path, you can do that. I don't know why you'd want to, instead of exploring every character, since that's an available option now to play through all their stories at the same time. But this would be kind of like a Zelda Breath of the Wild situation, where you can go fight the final boss with only one hero by your side, or if you take your time, you can actually go through all of their stories and have all 4 heroes alongside you, making the final boss a lot easier. So I guess it's just kind of how you want to play the game. Personally, I will be playing through all the stories because I think that sounds extremely interesting, and I'll get into that again more later. However, there is only one save file, but you can go back to past chapters and pretty much redo them if you so please. But I know some people would be kind of upset at there only being one save file in this game, which isn't a big deal with the Switch and the Switch 2 because you can just make a new profile. But yeah, it looks like you're going to have to make a whole entire new user on your Switch 2 in order to replay the game if you so please. But it looks like this game alone is going to be a lot of hours just to play through one time if you go through all the stories. Now, IGN finishes with only one negative, and it's how they handle the quote-unquote tea time type of situations. In 3 houses, you had tea times that you could host with random people around the monastery. This allowed you to increase your bond with these characters and even recruit new characters a lot easier. But this time, that's completely gone. You now have Feed the Pale Raven, which is literally Eshmal, the main character that went back in time as a bird. But you actually play as Eshmal the bird as you answer these questions. You have to respond the way a bird would. which is very weird, but IGN was not a fan of this and said that this was definitely weirder than just normal tea time, but perhaps there's some more significance to these conversations later on in the story once you actually go into the future and these heroes meet up with Ishmael. Maybe these conversations have more meaningful value or something. As of right now, it just seems very strange. But next up we have Skill Up, which also had a pretty hefty preview and a lot of things to say, but they start off by saying Fortune's Weave makes Engage look like a DLC pack. Now I personally skipped Engage, I just played 3 houses, but Engage was definitely more focused on combat than it was any of its story and relationship aspects, but Skill Up heavily praises this game as huge and very diverse. They said that this game is literally the future of Fire Emblem and just gave extreme praises the entire time. They put around 30 hours in the game doing everyone's story up to chapter 5 so far, and that there's significant differences between the 4 paths. Stories are very different, you'll be doing completely different tasks, and even the combat can change entirely with certain characters and certain paths. You can focus on 2 players at a time, which is something that they would often do, and this is something that really intrigued me. Instead of just doing one character, then the next, then the next, then the next, down the line of 4 characters, you might come into a part of the story where you want to focus on 2 specific characters because they're both gearing up to fight each other in the Colosseum. So you can better understand each characters on both sides, so that way it's not feeling like you're fighting this random person and these random characters that are with them. You have emotional connections with all of these characters because you've been playing through their stories simultaneously, so you can go through together to see how those 2 players interact, and that's kind of how they took it. Depending on the story situations, they would focus on 2 characters at a time that were getting ready to connect with each other or fight each other or whatever, so be it, which I think is incredibly cool. Each character also has special map abilities and themes that are tied to their story and kind of their gameplay loop. Like Lita, for instance, is traveling around the map from show to show. She's literally performing dances at different cities and areas, so that's pretty much what you're doing with her, where Dietrich is literally just looking for people to kill. Like, he's trying to fight the greatest warrior. He's like Meta Knight on his rage again, trying to find Galactonite. But yeah, he's pretty much just going around the map fighting people. He even has a special pinging ability to allow him to bring people into him to fight. Like, he's like literally calling for battle. He wants smoke. Theodora is about recruiting warriors, and she also is the only one because of this that can use the Gambit move. Now, this was something in Fire Emblem 3 Houses where pretty much you can send soldiers to use a special move out on the battlefield by having them charge the enemy, and she's so far, what they can see, the only character that can do this. You will unlock new things and systems in different orders depending entirely on the path. You might unlock something extremely early with one hero's path, but the other, you might get to chapter 5 and still not have unlocked that one special ability or something, just because it's a completely different story and path, which is really cool. It doesn't feel grindy though to do all 4 routes at the same time. This isn't a crazy grind that you're going to dread. If anything, Skill Up says it makes them feel actively wanting to seek out the other stories and looking forward to switching characters. It never felt like a task or just a huge burden on them. 33% of the game is battles, 33% is open exploration, and 33% is social stuff, and 1% is talking to the birds, Skill Up says. Now, there are turn-based battles as well as the grid-based ones that you're probably used to, but Skill Up says that these turn-based ones are very simple. He actually turned on the auto battle mode for these because they just weren't all that engaging. He does not mean it as a negative though, and says that it's not meant to be anything deep combat-wise, because if it was, it would have been too much stuff in this game and would have just felt bloated. It plays its role by just being a quick little thing to level up and stuff while you're in dungeons, and he doesn't see it as a burden, but can see why some people are not going to be a big fan of it. This was a little disappointing to me because I wanted this to be a little bit bigger, maybe more options with that turn-based combat stuff, maybe like, you know, timed parries or blocks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I also just kind of wanted to see maybe some freeing combat in these sections where you can run around these dungeons, but nope, it doesn't look like any of that is here. So these are just ways to really level up and explore some dungeons slightly. Some of the classic grid-based missions will have you doing new objectives like lighting all the torches in a room before your opponent, so it's not always just about defeating your opponent quickly. The game also has so much aura, according to Skill Up, saying that it has bold writing and great voice acting, and yes, it's still very anime. The cutscenes are so unbelievably good to watch. There are so many of them too, apparently. I've just seen a handful of them from these previews, and even I was very shocked at the quality from, you know, 3 Houses coming to this game. Now, Engage did have some pretty good looking cutscenes as well, but this game just blows the other 2 out of the water. The music apparently is also very excellent. I've heard the main theme a couple times and it is really, really good. Intelligent Systems have left nothing on the table here according to SkillUp. It's a very big and creative game and they are stoked to continue playing. Now, I have watched a couple of other previews from people like Nintendo Life and some other ones, and for the most part, it seems like everyone is unanimously loving this game, that there is really no negatives here. This is 3 Houses, but dialed up to 11. They took some of the complaints with the overly reliance on social stuff and kind of balanced it out with gameplay of many different aspects. Like, you'll be having grid-based combat, turn-based combat, dungeon exploration, leveling up around the map instead of spending a lot of time in one monastery location. I really love everything that I've been seeing so far, and like I said, this is coming from someone who literally only played 1 story route in 3 Houses, and I loved it. So what I'm seeing right now, I'm loving even more. It's definitely a weird timeline for me because I never expected to actively be looking forward to playing a Fire Emblem game, but dog, I am very much excited for this game. I really love everything that I've seen so far. Now, we still have about a month until the game releases, so we'll see how the reviews fare here in about 4 weeks, but as of right now, I think this is going to be another huge title for Nintendo and the Switch 2 as far as reviews go. I think this is going to review very well. But let me know in the comments down below what you think. Did these previews actually put you onto the game? Did they kind of still make you feel indifferent? Do you not care about this game? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. And what is your experience with Fire Emblem? Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. Jesus loves you, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.